Hi everyone, welcome to Susan's Cooking School. Today I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful breads that are made similar to croissants, but a little easier and suitable for sandwiches and other things. Enjoy! So I'm going to take my flour, I'm using 1.5 pounds of bread flour, and I'm going to add my water to this and just let it sit around the edge. I'm going to take my yeast, using 1 packet of active dry yeast, regular active dry yeast, not the instant rise kind. Just going to sprinkle that on top of the water, and I'm just going to lightly stir the edges of this. This way I don't have to do this in a separate container and dirty another glass or measuring cup. Okay, while that's sitting, I'm going to add the rest of my ingredients into this well in the center. So I've got 3 tablespoons of sugar, 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, and I have here 2 teaspoons of just regular vegetable oil. I'm just going to pour that into the liquid area. Just going to let this sit for a couple minutes. Alright, I think we're ready to go. Just going to mix all of this together until it becomes incorporated. The more mixing you do in the bowl, the easier it is to knead later on. There you go, that's good enough. Now I'm just going to feel this and see how it feels. You can tell if you need to add more water or if it's going to be a little too wet. If it's a little too moist, we can add a little flour as we are kneading it on the counter. So what I'm going to do is put a little flour on my table. So we're going to knead this for about 3 minutes. Kneading time depends on how vigorously you knead. So this is a good time to get your aggression out on a piece of dough. Another thing you can do if the dough is a little too sticky but you don't want to add any more flour is you can fold it over like this. Just keep folding and that'll take some of the stickiness out of it. You can see it's kind of coming together and being less sticky. Okay, it's come together pretty good. I'll just put a little bit more flour on the counter. You can get away with kneading this bread a little less because it's going to be rolled and folded, and that gives additional kneading to the dough. Now it's pretty much lost all its stickiness, but the dough is still supple. It's not dry. So I think this is just about ready. Okay, so I'm just going to round this by folding the edges to the center until I get a nice smooth surface on the top. And you can see it's forming. There you go. And we'll put this back in the bowl. I'm going to cover this and let it rest and rise for about 30 minutes. See you in a little bit. Okay, our dough has been resting for 30 minutes. We'll see if it's risen at all. I don't know if you can see that, but there's bubbles down at the bottom showing that it's begun to rise, which is what we want. We don't want it to be fully risen yet. So I'm just going to take a little flour and put it on my counter. Take my dough out. I'm just going to roll this out a little bit. Since this is a croissant-like bread, we want to have some layers of butter in here. I'm making this different than I make croissants because we're going to be putting in not cold butter, but softened butter. This is just softened a little bit. We're using 2 sticks of butter, or 8 ounces. So I'm going to divide my dough into approximately thirds here. One of these sticks of butter I'm going to spread over 1/3 of this dough. So I'm going to fold this over this, fold the 1/2 of dough over the butter, and now I'm going to put butter on the other third. There we go. Now I'm going to take the rest of my dough and fold it over. So now I have butter encased in here and in here right now. So I'm just going to give it a gentle roll. That. And that should keep the butter right where it belongs in those layers. Keep it in its rectangular shape as much as you can when you're rolling. Alright, I can see the butter in there underneath. Now I'm just going to fold this in thirds again. And now I'm going to refrigerate this until it firms up a bit, maybe 15 to 30 minutes. And I'm going to put it in plastic so it won't dry out. There we go. See you in a bit. Our dough has been chilling for about an hour or so in the refrigerator. And take it out. Hopefully the butter has chilled enough in there so that it will stay between the layers when I roll this out. I need to give this 2 more trifolds. So I'm going to roll this out a little bit here. Don't have to roll it really thin to do these folds. As a matter of fact, you don't want to roll it too thin because then the butter becomes part of the layer rather than between the layer. So just fold this in thirds, brushing off the excess butter. You can use a pastry brush to brush it off if you need to. Okay, so that's 1 more trifold, and I just have to do that 1 more time. Another fold. So now I'm done with my folding the layers. Now I just want to roll this dough out and put it in my bread pans. I'm going to let it rest for just a couple minutes. Let the gluten relax so that it's easier to roll out. So I'm going to prepare my bread pans. I'm just going to use a little non-stick spray. You can use butter if you like, shortening, oil. So if I roll this out to about 14 by 18 and then cut it in half, it fits nicely in these standard bread pans, which I think these are 8-inch bread pans. So let's see, if the dough gives me too much resistance when I begin to roll, I'll rest it a little longer. I don't want the dough to tear. And if it springs back too much, I'm just kind of fighting against the dough. And in a battle against the dough will always win. If it wants to rest, you must rest it. Now we're going to cut this down the middle. I'm going to fold it in half and just mark where the middle is. And that way both pieces will be about the same size. And now I'm just going to roll each half up tightly and put it in the bread pans. That's that easy. So take your bread pan. You can try and pinch the bottoms of these, but because there's so much butter in there, it really doesn't pinch well. So I just put the seam on the bottom and don't worry about pinching them as I would for a normal loaf of bread. I'm going to grease the tops a little bit in the bottom of the pan and then turn it around. And that's it. And do the same thing with the other one. I don't know if you can see that. You can see the layers of butter in there that we rolled in. And again, we did this much faster than would be a normal croissant type dough. This is a quick version. It's much easier, a little less butter. It makes a wonderful sandwich or breakfast bread. Alright, so these are ready. I'm just going to cover them with plastic and let them rise until they're about double in size. You can put these in a warm place. You can do them at room temperature. I have my little proof box set up and I think I'll put these in there. It's busy right now with something else rising, but when it's empty, I will put these in there to rise. So I'll see you in a little bit. Well, our breads have proofed up nicely. I'm just going to brush these with a little beaten egg. So now these are going to go into the oven at 400 degrees. All right, it's been 30 minutes. Let's take a look. I did move them around a little bit in the oven to make sure they were baking evenly. So I think these look really beautiful. And I'm going to take them out of the pans in a couple minutes, let them cool, and then we'll see what it looks like inside. I'll have to give this a taste. It's really good.